Hey guys, welcome back to CheatSheetPros.com. Today is Thursday, February 24th, and we are going to look at some college basketball best bets for the day. So I posted this screenshot, so if you saw it, it's got my top 3 plays on here, actually top 2, and then I've got a whole bunch of games I want to talk about and kind of show you what I like, why, and what our NCAA cheat sheet and the models say. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, if you want to play with our cheat sheets that we go over in these videos, you can find them in our free Facebook group. The link is in our description, and we post them there on Thursdays and usually one other random day of the week. If you have not subscribed, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel as we go over several sports betting picks, player props, and tutorials. And that's the best place to get our information. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the very first game I have, which is one of my favorite plays on the slate, is St. Mary's over San Diego. You can see here that our model, we've got this as St. Mary's minus 19.5, minus 20. We'll go ahead and round that up. They are 22-6. They're sitting at number 22 in the power rankings. Going on the road to San Diego, who sits at 215th, and they are 14-13. Whenever a team I like goes on the road, I always want to look and see how that team does at home. San Diego is 8-4 straight up, but they are only 33% against the spread. So I do like the model here of St. Mary's minus 20. Right now, Vegas has this as St. Mary's minus 12 or minus 7.5 for the first half, and I have bet both of those. So let's go ahead and pull up and take a look at the game logs here for St. Mary's. So St. Mary's has won a bunch of games. They're really good. They're number 2 in the WCC. Their last 2 losses were against Gonzaga, who's number 1 right now. And they did lose to Santa Clara by 5, but every team has a misstep. But everybody else, they've done really well. They played a really good San Francisco team that'll be in the NCAA tournament. They beat them by 2 on the road, and then they turned around and beat them again by 5 at home. Gonzaga, they hung with for a little bit, ultimately ended up losing by double digits, but that's fine. They're projected to win the entire NCAA tournament right now, so I don't mind that. They are going on the road to San Diego. They only have 2 games left. They did just play San Diego here on February 10th, and they throttled them. They beat them 86-57. And whenever I bet a first half line, I want to go look at this game and see if it was close at the first half or if they ran away in the second half. And this is going to be really hard to see on your screen, but they were up 42-21 at halftime and then 44-36 in the second half. So I like the game line and the first half line. What jumps out at me is that they basically did well on both sides of the half. Let's go look at San Diego real quick, take a look at their game logs, and make sure there's nothing that jumps out that would go against us or that would worry us. So looking at this, they've lost 4 of the last 5 games. Obviously, they lost to Gonzaga. They got killed by 30. They lost to Santa Clara by double digits. St. Mary's beat them pretty handily. They beat a horrible Pacific team, but only by 5. And then they played Portland and lost 92-60. And I believe St. Mary's just played Portland. So Portland beat San Diego 92-60. And we beat them 75-54. So that's a red flag right there. That should give you a lock for St. Mary's. So St. Mary's is one of my favorite plays tonight. So let's go on and move on to game number 2, and that is going to be Wagner, which is a much smaller school, and that is game number 21 on the cheat sheet. So we're going to flip over here to game number 21, and we have Wagner at, we're just going to say Dickinson because I don't know what the first name is. So right off the bat, you got Wagner, who's 19-3. They're number 1 in the NEC, and then you've got Dickinson, who's 3-20, 1-15 on the road, 2-5 at home. They're only 39% to cover on the year, ATS. And then Wagner, they're 60% ATS, 64% on the road, so that's good. Dickinson, they hold the number 335th offense and 343rd defense, but they are 43rd in pace. Our model right here, we love Wagner in this spot. We've got it at Wagner minus 23.2 points, so we'll just say Wagner minus 23. So I was curious what the line was going to be this morning. I figured this was going to be one of those 17, 18, 19, 20-point lines, and it opened up at 12. So I was shocked to see Wagner minus 12. So they're 9-2 on the road, 10-1 at home. So we like them to win in this spot. I mean, they're 19-3 on the year. I don't see any issues there. So I've bet them minus 12 for the game, and then their first half line, my book was minus 7, so I bet minus 7 as well. So that is my second favorite play on the board. Let's go take a look at their game logs real quick. Wagner, you can see they've won a whole bunch of games with their only loss was an overtime game to Merrimack. A lot of these smaller schools I don't really pay a lot of attention to. I'm just looking to make sure that they're beating a lot of teams in their conference. They've got some double-digit wins. They've got some close games. Looking at Dickinson, I looked at their schedule. They are 3-20 and 8th in the NEC. And they have lost a whole bunch of games. They managed to beat Central Connecticut and Sacred Heart. And then they lost by 20 to Merrimack. They lost to Bryant. So basically, they lost a bunch of games. The main one that I'm looking at is Wagner beat them 95-64 the last time they played them on January 17th. They were up 41-25 at the half. And then in the second half, they still ran them 54-39. Basically cruising to a win, so them covering 12 tonight or 7 first half I don't think is going to be very difficult. Going on to game number 3, we have Florida Atlantic, which is just down here to game number 25. So just to be clear, St. Mary's and Wagner are my two favorite plays. I've bet first half and game line on both of those games and a couple units each. And then these other games are just 1 unit plays for me as of right now that I went ahead and bet. So the first one is Florida Atlantic. They haven't really been great on the road. They're only 2-7. Our NCAA model, we've got it at Florida Atlantic -4. So I was shocked to see Old Dominion favored in this game. So that's what really popped. I wasn't even going to look at it. Florida Atlantic, they've lost 3 games in a row, but they lost to a good Western Kentucky team. North Texas is a solid team right now that's beating a lot of people. They lost by only 3, 54-51. And Middle Tennessee, we track them a lot, and they've been really good. They lost to them 87-79. So they've played 3 good games, and they've hung in there, so that's not too bad. The game before, they played Old Dominion at home. The difference is tonight they're going on the road. But they beat Old Dominion 81-62. So if this was the 54-51 game like against North Texas, I would say, okay, +1, -1, that's fair. But they beat them by almost 20 points just on February 8th. They were up 48-25 at the half. They laid off in the second half and were outscored by 4. So that's, if you want to do a first half, you can, but the line's small enough for me just to have them win the game. I'm good with that. So I got Florida Atlantic. It was +1. +1 doesn't do anything for me, so I went ahead and took the -105 money line. But they were up 48-25 at the half, and they ended up winning by 19. And our model has them, they should be favored by 4, so that was one of the games that jumped out at me that I went with. Moving on to the next game, we have down here Murray State versus Belmont. So I was kind of shocked at this game. I thought this was going to be an easy, no-brainer hammer play on Murray State, which is game number 10 on the cheat sheet. But when I started looking at this game's going to be a lot closer than people expect. So you have the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the division, in the OVC. And we have 24-5 Belmont versus 26-2 Murray State. So this spread is Murray State -3. They are at home. Murray State is 14-0 at home. They are 80% covering at home, so we really like that. Belmont on the road's kind of so-so. You can see there's a slight advantage here offensively and defensively for Murray State. Now, our model has this game at Murray State -4. Vegas has it at -3. So there's not a huge thing that's popping on the model, but this is a game that I like just for a unit. You can see, look how many games Murray State has won. They've just been on an absolute roll, and we always look back to see if they've played them. So on January 15th, they played Belmont at Belmont and beat them 82-60. So they've already beat them once by 22 points. And looking at that game, they were up 48-35 at halftime and then outscored them 34-25 in the second half. So I like the -3 with Murray State at home tonight. I think it is going to be a closer game, but with their record and their prior win, we're going to go with that for our 4th pick. Moving on to game number 5 is Arizona versus Utah. And I've got that down as game number... I wrote down number 10, but that's not correct. It's going to be game number 2. So it's going to be up here on this side of the cheat sheet. The first thing that jumps out at me is looking at the line. We have it at -20, so Arizona should be favored by 20 points in our model that's on our cheat sheet. And then when I flip over and I looked at the Vegas line, it was minus 10.5. So I bought the half a point, and I just took Arizona minus 10 for 1 unit, nothing crazy. What I like about this, Arizona's really good. I bet them to win the NCAA championship when I bet Auburn. They're 24-2 going up against Utah. That's 11-16. They're clearly a better team. They're 7-2 on the road. They're a 6-2, 75% against the spread on the road, so we like that. And you can see a huge discrepancy here in the adjusted offense and defense. Arizona is number 7 on offense, number 7 on defense versus the 93rd and 151st. So that's contributing to our minus 20 model. So Vegas is about half of that. So we want to go and take a look at the game logs. So Arizona's been phenomenal. I don't think, they did play Utah. So they played Utah at home back on January 15th and beat them 82-64. So they beat them up pretty good. And the only difference is now they're going on the road. In that game, I will give you a word of caution. In the first half, it was 34-31. So Utah hung with them on the road. Now in the second half, I don't know what Arizona did, but they went up 48-33. That's going to be really hard for you to see. So they were +3 first half, +15 the second half. So if you do manage to bet the game line and it's close at halftime, don't worry. They did much better in the second half. But also if they're down by some chance at halftime, I'm going to come back with a second half play on them and double up my bet. So that's why I'm only starting off with a unit right now. The next game we're going to talk about is Colorado at Arizona State, and this is game number 12 on the cheat sheet. So Colorado jumped out at me last night when I was looking at this, so I was curious at what the motto would be. The reason it jumped out is the last matchup. So typically when my kids are bouncing around watching shows and, I'm sitting on the couch, talking to the wife about her day, I'm flipping through, looking at games and looking at game logs, seeing if teams played, where they're at, how they've done. So Colorado has been really good. They've won 5 straight games. Now, given 2 of them were against Oregon State, who's awful. They beat a decent Utah team. They beat Cal. They beat Stanford. So they're doing really well. And look at the points they've scored. 86, 81, 90, 70, and 70. So they've been doing good. Now they get Arizona State, who's been somewhat difficult. And they did play them at Arizona State and already beat them 75-57. So I was curious at what the line would be on this game. So the line opened at -6. And you can see here that our model, we've got Colorado -4, so our model does not like it. But what I'm looking at, what changes my mind, is these last 5 wins they have in a row. So you can see here, if you look at the season averages, everything kind of blends together. Here they were 1-5, and then they turned a corner, and they've won 5 straight games, and they're playing at home against a team that they already beat back on January 15th, 75-57. So that's one thing that jumps out at me. In that game, they were +3 at halftime, so they outscored them by 3, but then they were +15 in the second half. So if you want to hold off on this play and wait and see how it plays out, you might be able to jump on a second half play and get a better line. But Colorado -6, I went ahead and put a unit on it because that one was popping for me that I did like. Moving on, we had Gonzaga at San Francisco. I won't spend a lot of time on this game. This is a big game on the slate. When I looked at this last night, I put a note here I was going to make a play on San Francisco because I thought this line would open up at 16, 17, somewhere around there. In the prior game with Gonzaga, it was... let's take a look here. So Gonzaga played San Francisco back on January 20th and beat them 78-62. Now, in that game, they hung with them. So at halftime, it was 36-33 before Gonzaga ran away in the second half, 42-29. So San Francisco's a really good team. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Look for them to get 1, maybe 2 wins this year, but they get to play Gonzaga again tonight at home. So believe me, they're going to be ready for this game. They are 14-3 at home, but they are only 38% against the spread. So our model has Gonzaga -14. My play was going to be San Francisco plus if I could get 15 or more. Well, when I opened up my book this morning, they opened this line up at 10. So Gonzaga was only -10 on the road. So I completely went off San Francisco and said, okay, I would rather make a play on San Diego if we're only talking about 10. You can get a first half line of 6, 6.5, somewhere around there. I did not bet this game yet, but I am probably going to make a play somewhere on either Zaga -10 or Zaga first half. but that's a game that kind of jumped out at me that I was shocked at the line. Santa Clara and Long Beach State are the last two games I want to go over that fall into my category for leans. And I don't think I put the Santa Clara game number down. So let's go down here and find, there it is, number 15. So Santa Clara and Pepperdine, these last two are leans for me. Santa Clara is 18-10 versus Pepperdine, who we've picked on most of the year, is 7-22. Santa Clara's decent on the road, 63% ATS. Pepperdine's 57% ATS at home. Nothing great that really jumps out there. The big difference for me is Santa Clara has the 34th best offense, and Pepperdine is sitting at number 274. So our model also agrees we have Santa Clara minus 18. And the spread on this was... oh, I think I lost it. I will go find it. So one of the things that we did notice here, Santa Clara, I don't believe they have played Pepperdine. They've been kind of up and down, but look at these games Santa Clara's played. So they were within 12 of Gonzaga at Gonzaga. That's good. Then they won here. Then they played a really good San Francisco team that we just talked about. They got beat up pretty good in this one, but they hung with them the prior matchup and only lost by 3. And then they went on and won the games they should win, beating Pacific, Marymount, San Diego. And then this was a really big win. They beat St. Mary's, who's a really good team. They also give Zaga a run, and they'll be in the NCAA tournament this year. They beat them 77-72 at home. So then when we go over and we take a look at Pepperdine, I think this spread was minus 11. And then when we look at Pepperdine, look at how many losses they have. So out of all these games, they've lost every one, but they managed to beat Pacific 70-64, who's awful. But Pacific beat them the game before by 5. But other than that, look, they played San Francisco. They got beat by more than 40. Gonzaga beat them by 20. They got beat by a horrible Portland team. They just haven't been good at all. So I like Santa Clara in this spot. I believe the line was 11. So you could bet 11 or you could bet first half. I think you're good here. Our model has minus 18. So Santa Clara is another game that we do like. And then the Long Beach State, that's game number 44. That's way down here. And you typically won't see me talking about a lot of these schools that are ranked outside the top 150, but Long Beach State, they were talking about them on Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM, how they were really good ATS. I haven't really paid attention to them, but then I saw their game pop up last night and I wanted to look at it. So they are 15-10 straight up. They're 8-3 at home. They're a 70% ATS play. And look at their ATS numbers. They're really good. They're even 73% against the spread on the road. They're 7-2 for 78% against the spread at home. And they're going up against a team that's 11-14. So I was curious. I wanted to come out and take a look at this game. There was not a line on it this morning when I looked. Our model has Long Beach State minus 10. So I'm guessing it's going to fall in that 8 to 10 range. So with them being really good, our model minus 10, I don't mind a lean play here on anything less than minus 9 or better when it comes out. Now they did play once before. Let's see if we got those game logs. All right, here, so Long Beach State. And you can see they've been on a roll, so they've only got one loss out of all these games, and that was to UC Santa Barbara. I don't know what happened in that game. And they're playing San Diego tonight. I like that they're at home. And this is a real easy icon to scroll up and find. So on January 20th, they played San Diego and beat them 87-69. Our model has them favored by 10. They've already won this game by almost 20. So this is a game that we do like. They're a really favorable team to bet on, so that would be another lane. So just to go ahead and recap the games that we like. So we'll run over this because I know we did go over a lot of information. So let me blow this up here so you guys can see it a little bit. So my favorite play is St. Mary's minus 12 for the game, minus 7.5 first half. My second favorite play is going to be Wagner minus 12 or minus 7.5 first half. And then the other plays we like, Florida Atlantic minus 105 to win the game over Old Dominion. We like Murray State minus 3 over a close game against Belmont. We like Arizona. It's 10.5 versus Utah. I went ahead and bought the half, took minus 10. You could go a first half play, but be ready to come back on the second half if you do that. We also like Colorado minus 6 against Arizona State. That's another game that Arizona State could hang with them in the first half, so if you want to wait and look for a second half play or fade it, I'd be fine with that. Gonzaga versus San Francisco is a game I was looking forward to. We were leaning on San Francisco because I think they can play them really close, but when the line opened at 10, I would rather lean over to the number 1 Gonzaga team to get another W here. Santa Clara versus Pepperdine. This is basically just a pick-on play for Pepperdine. The power ranking's not high enough for Santa Clara, so we can get a very favorable line there first half or for the game. And then our other lean play is going to be Long Beach State over San Diego. Again, I did not have a line on that. I'm guessing it's going to be 8 or 9. Our model has 10, and they previously won that game by, oh, I forgot it already, 18, 19, 20, 87 to 69. So they've already got a win there. So that's what we like today. Make sure to subscribe down below. Good luck. Go make some money. If you don't bet anything in this video, at least do a straight bet on St. Mary's, a straight bet on Wagner, and then parlay them together just for me.